Okay, let's talk about how to quieten your inner critic and build a kinder inner voice. So, if your inner voice feels like, sounds more like a critic than a coach, it's more like your own worst enemy. If you speak to yourself in ways that you would never ever speak to someone you love, this video is going to feel like such a relief to you because that harsh self talk that you have been carrying, that's been going on in your brain, it did not come from nowhere and you're not broken for having it. So, I want to talk about how to soften that inner critic without losing your standards or your growth or your drive so that you can finally feel supported by your own mind instead of feeling like attacked by it. And so, the first very gentle truth that you need to hear is that your inner critic was not born in you. It was learnt. No child comes into the world criticizing their own reflection, their own, or doubting their own self worth, or shaming themselves for their mistakes. That voice was shaped, like over the years, by the words and expectations and emotional climates that we grew up in. And so, before we can learn to soften it, I want you to, really say this very clearly. I want to say this clearly to you. There is nothing wrong with you for having a critical inner voice or critical inner self talk. You simply learned it as a form of self protection, as a way of staying acceptable, safe, or good, or maybe it's just even a bad habit that you haven't learned how to shrug. Because as an adult, you get to now choose a different inner voice. And I'm ideally hoping and I want to be steering you towards choosing one that supports your growth rather than sabotaging it. And so, where did this crazy inner critic, the mean girl voice inside our brain show up? Okay, it's not our fault. Often it's formed for one of three reasons. Like, number one is when criticism was actually modeled or normalized in our house or whenever we grew up. If you grew up around people who judge themselves harshly or commented on flaws or expected perfection, then your brain absorbed this as okay, that's just the way that people talk to themselves. Or number two, if you were praised for performance and not for just being a human, a normal human with a human brain, if love and attention and approval came whenever you were like achieving things or behaving really well or impressing people with your efforts or performing, your brain linked self-worth to getting it right. Okay. I'm good when I get things right. And so your critic shows up when, when you're not getting it quite right to keep you compliant and good and approved of. And the final one is when your critic just simply became a shield. For so many people, like self criticism becomes like, it's almost like a preemptive strike. If I criticize myself first, okay, it's not going to hurt so much if someone else notices that I didn't do things really well. And so it's a protective strategy that we've learned over the years. It's not a truth about our worth in any way. Your criticism, like your inner critic, sorry, was trying to simply keep you safe. And it just forgot that you're no longer a child who needs protection through self policing yourself. Like you get to choose a different inner critic. You get to. Well, it doesn't have to be called an inner critic, just simply your inner voice. And so the hidden cost of living life like this, if you have your own worst enemy as your voice, okay, I don't think people realize just how destructive this self-talk truly is. Okay, because in some ways it just feels normal. It's like, doesn't everyone talk to themselves in this way? No, they don't. But the cost shows up everywhere. It definitely kills your confidence before it ever has a chance to grow. You don't back yourself because your brain is constantly rehearsing everything that could go wrong. It also stops you from trying new things. Like, why would you try, like, risk trying something if your inner voice is always punishing you for doing things imperfectly and telling you you're going to get it wrong anyway? So, why bother? The other thing it does is it destroys self trust. When your internal tone is so harsh, you stop believing, quite simply, that you can handle life with grace. It also creates shame around growth. Like, instead of learning from your mistakes, you're too busy attacking yourself for making them in the first place. And it also keeps you stuck in self improvement mode. Like, you're always trying to fix yourself. You never feel like you're enough, even though you are enough and you don't have to fix anything about yourself. You just get to grow. And so here's a bold, statement that I'm going to share with you is that no amount of goals or planning or productivity or being better is going to ever work if the voice inside your head does not support you. And so I want you to understand, like, the self-talk, the voice inside your brain is the infrastructure that your entire life is going to be built on. And so I want you to consider upgrading that voice because everything's going to become so much easier when you do. And so the shift that think is going to change everything for you is understand that you do not silence that inner critic by fighting it with it. You can have a battle with it every day. You soften it by upgrading it. Okay, the goal isn't to have no inner critic. Okay, that's not realistic or human. Of course, your brain's sometimes going to notice when things don't go well. But the goal is to retrain that voice so it becomes less harsh, more accurate, and more supportive and rooted in truth, not fear. Because you're not trying to erase a part of yourself. Like, you're hoping, you want your voice to evolve with you in a supportive way. And so I want you to understand, whenever you notice you've got that voice going on, the negative one, the mean girl one, the worst enemy one, is understand that that voice was learned, which means it can be unlearned. Okay, it wasn't, if it's not yours originally, if it doesn't serve you, it doesn't have to be yours permanently. Or you also understand that self-kindness isn't about lowering your standards, it's about fueling them. Shame doesn't create growth, support does, compassion does. And if you wouldn't say it to someone you love, why would you say it to yourself? Your inner tone truly does matter as much as your own words. And I want you to know, like, from here on, if you ever, do a mistake, which we all will, probably every day, mistakes are just information. It's not evidence of failure. Self-respect grows when you allow yourself to be imperfect and still feel worthy. And understand that your self-talk will become part of your identity. So choose words that actually build you and support you. Because you can always be honest with yourself without ever being or needing to be cruel. Because you don't have to bully yourself to try to improve yourself. You can guide yourself with loving compassion instead. And we all know that that works so much better. If you ever had like a bully, an adult, that try to criticize you to work harder, it doesn't work, okay? Compassion does not make you soft. It makes growth feel easier. It makes growth more sustainable. And I also want you to consider that your inner voice could set the standard for how you allow others to treat you. When you speak to yourself with respect, you naturally expect it from others. When you speak to yourself terribly, then when other people do it, it's like, it's like my normal. And you don't want that to be the truth for you. Your confidence is going to grow when you have your own back. Self-trust builds whenever you choose encouragement over self-attack. Okay, be your own best friend, my friends, and start with the words that you're saying to yourself on a daily basis. So just a little challenge that I want to offer you is that this week, every time you hear your self-talk, negative self-talk speak, just pause and ask yourself, like, is this voice actually trying to like help me, protect me, punish me? And give it a little frame. Like you can, sometimes can't stop those thoughts coming in, but you can say, okay, thank you for like trying to help me, whatever. But we don't speak to myself. I don't speak to myself like that anymore. Here's what I want to, here's what I offer instead, and replace it with a more supportive sentence. So if your critic's going, you always mess things up. Your little upgrade sentence, your replacement thought could be, well, I'm learning. One step at a time is enough. This is all good. I've got my own back. Now, this is not about toxic positivity by any means. It's just about being accurate, honest, and graceful with yourself. Okay? If you'd say those words to a kid, if they make a mistake, then you can say it to yourself. So how do you practically quieten the little inner critic without any toxic positivity? Here's what I found has actually worked like in real life, doing it very gently. Whenever you hear that critic, pause and separate it. It's like, I'm just noticing that that's my negative self-talk going crazy at the moment. Inner critic speaking. Naming it creates distance. Replace the critic, that critical voice, with a wise mental voice. Ask, like, what would I say to a friend that I love right now in this that situation? Okay, you know you've got the good advice in you. Share it with yourself, and use neutral self-talk before positive self-talk. If you can't go from I'm failing to I'm amazing, go from I'm just learning. It's okay to be human. I'm a human. I'm having a normal human experience. I've got a normal human brain. And give your brain evidence. Okay, write down those times in your journal how you handle things well. Your critic loses power when faced with proof. You are growing, you are learning. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago. You've grown in some way. And so your little gentle challenge this week is for the next 7 days, like when you catch your inner critic speaking in a way that you don't love, ask yourself, like, would I say this to a child or someone I love? If the answer is no, then change your tone. Okay, it's not the truth. Sometimes you can say the same things but in a different way. It's not about removing the honesty or lying to yourself. It's just about removing the cruelty. And if this has resonated with you and you want to build self-trust and take action from a kinder inner world, which I think is essential, not from pressure or perfection, my free guide is going to walk you through the 5 powerful thought shifts that are going to make taking aligned action feel so much calmer and seem simpler and doable. The link is waiting for you in the description. And if you're craving deeper support with following through on the things that truly matter to you, without burnout, without sacrificing your sanity, without self-criticism, the Inspiring Life Academy is where I teach all of this step by step. I've got like 90 plus courses and coaching roadmaps inside. But the thing I want you to know is that you live with your mind 24/7. You do. Okay, it deserves to feel like a safe space for you. It should be. You don't have to entertain a loud or crazy inner critic anymore. I recommend that you replace it with a wiser inner coach. It's going to take practice, but it begins with one choice. Speak to yourself like you're someone worth believing in. And if this has landed for you in the comments, tell me what's one sentence that you want to replace your inner critic with this week. Remember, you don't have to earn softness from yourself. You don't have to fix yourself because you deserve kindness. You are allowed to speak to yourself like someone worth supporting. Okay? Because you are. And remember, If a thought feels good, keep it. If it feels crappy, it's time to ditch it. I am just gently cheering for you for doing this work. I'm so proud of you. Okay, you know where you can find me, and I can't wait to catch you on the next episode.